parts you'll need for this step are C9, A31, and D11. All right, guys and girls, we are about to start a cool car. I'm still working on the Ducati motorcycle build, but also wanted to start a side-by-side build of the new Tamiya Nissan Z. So looks pretty good, looks pretty thorough, has a lot of steps, but it's a curbside kit, so that usually means that it doesn't have an opening hood or a engine. So it has both options for right-hand drive and left-hand drive, so European and American version. It has some really neat engineering on this kit. Sometimes when you have a kit that has the top to be another color, you have to do so much masking and make it perfect. This one is engineered that the piece is actually, well, the top is actually a separate piece. So kind of anxious about that and how clean that might be. So it looks pretty good and I'm anxious to start. So I am going to grab our first part, which is going to be a masking nightmare, but I think it's going to be pretty cool. We have a lot of different colors to gather. We have probably 4 or 5 different colors on this chassis that need to be painted and masked off. So really only 3 pieces to actually glue to the chassis. So I am going to go gather some paints and gather some parts, and we'll get this thing started. Okay, one thing that I didn't mention when I was working on my motorcycle build was there are times that I go ahead and mark my sprues with a little piece of tape, so that way the letter is easier to see, whereas that's pretty easy to see versus trying to find that little A on there. So again, just little things that I do to help myself. I haven't made myself one of those sprue holders that keeps them all organized, so this just helps me find them quicker. So the first part we are going to cut is C9, which is basically what would be the transmission, the bottom of a transmission. So even though this kit does not have an engine included, it's considered a curbside. It'll still have under chassis detail showing you where the transmission and things would be. So C9 is right here. Gotta order me some new sprue cutters. I dropped those and broke the tip off of them, unfortunately. But the good thing is I'll call Mark out at Hobby Nut Models and he'll hook me up. All right, so that one is ready. Then the next piece we need is D11, 2 of them. So we will grab our D sprue. Now, you're probably wondering why this is all masked up. This is that top section that I was mentioning that is all one piece. And I noticed it was getting small little scratches. Even though I'm gonna prime it and paint it, I figured I would just go ahead and tape over it to try to protect it right now while during the build process. So we need 2 of D11, which are right here. So it's flat on the bottom, so I don't have to worry about that. I'll leave a little bit of the nub on here. Whoop, as it rolls away. So we'll just make that smooth. Golly, these are little fiddly bits. and just sand around that. Even though the bottom of that will be up against the chassis, I still want it to be as smooth as possible, especially when it's time to glue it down. Okay, and the biggest part, which is, and the most fun that we're going to have, is the chassis, which is A31, which is this big bad boy right here. All right, so now that's all cut out. Now we just got to come back and trim up all those I'm just softly going over the plastic. I'm not trying to gouge it or anything like that. I'm just trying to get any raised areas. Feeling with my hand, feel where I missed. All right, so that is all sanded and ready. All right, so we have all three of our parts. Well, I'm sorry, I can't count. We have the chassis, we have the transmission, and we have what looks like or appears to be two different, or the rear shocks. So everything is ready for paint. So what we're gonna do is, because this kit is asking for an extreme amount of masking, it's asking for this chassis to be painted with X32, X18, X18 back here, LP36 all through here and back in here, XF1, which is a flat black there, more X18, which is a semi-gloss black here and in here, XF16, which I believe is an aluminum, but I have to check. So literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah, 5 different paints all on here. So what I'll do first is I'll try to figure out which part will be the easiest to mask. So I'll paint the entire part that color and then mask off that color so you can paint the others. So yeah, it's gonna be a lot of masking, some kind of fun trying to figure it out, but I'll get some tape ready and we will start masking. Okay, I decided to go ahead and paint the dark ghost gray first on the chassis. So that way it acted almost like kind of like a primer. So I'm using a primer gray that's very close to the actual dark ghost gray, which in this case turns out to be an old can of Tester's gloss primer gray. Now we'll just let that dry, and we'll see how it looks when it's dry. I'm not too crazy about it right now, but we'll see how it dries. All right, back from the paint booth. Well, part of the paint booth. I haven't shot all the pieces yet because I want to get some of the masking done. So what I decided to do, so you can see right here, all this area in here and down through here, over here, was all supposed to be LP36, which was LP36's Dark Ghost Gray. So I shot that, and now I have to mask all those areas out that have to be LP36. I'm going to mask all of that off, and I'm going to mask this section off here and this section off here, because everything else is X18, which is semi-gloss black, which I'll be using, I believe it's LP5, semi-gloss black. So, but it's the same as X18. That's Tamiya's acrylic line. I'm going to use the lacquer line. So I'm going to start masking, and we'll see how much fun or trouble we can get in. I don't know why I put that over there. I need that. So again, I'm going to try to detack it a little bit by putting it on my hand. Ooh, this is going to be fun. Hey everyone, I am back for the continued painting and masking of this fun first step of the Tamiya Nissan Z. So you can see that I've went ahead and removed all the masking. Took a good 2 hours to mask and paint, so I'm anxious to get on to the next color. I went ahead and shot the first part with LP36, and then masked off the areas that were going to be saved, that color. And then I shot the LP5, which is semi-gloss black, which you're seeing now. So tonight I am going to mask off this area in here, and that has to be X32, which is titanium silver. So I will find the equivalent of titanium silver for the LP range of Tamiya paints, but it's basically this little section that goes in between these two black sections. So it's just right in here, this whole section right here. So I'm going to mask that off and shoot that. And then I'm going to mask off this front little section here, which is flat black, which I'll be using LP3, I think is flat black. They call for XF1, which is the acrylic range, but I'm trying to use LP paints, the lacquer paints, because I really like the way they paint. So, so I have to paint this XF16, which is a flat aluminum, which the LP range of flat aluminum is just one of my favorite colors. So I'll get that painted. These are already painted. Well, these two shocks are painted and ready to be glued down. So technically I have to hand paint these brackets here flat aluminum, and this flat black, and that titanium silver, and then we're done with step one. So I'm going to get out the masking tape and get some stuff going. All right, this already is going to be a lot easier to mask than everything I did the other night. So just taking it, and again, always trying to help out as much as I can, not pulling any paint up. I haven't had too much problems with it yet, but I don't want to assume that it's not going to. So I'm just following that raised edge line right here. And then you can see the line. Just gotta Okay, I am back. I went and grabbed LP38, which is flat aluminum, which is just a wonderful, wonderful color. So I'm going to go ahead and mix this up and shoot it, and I will be right back. All right, we are going to shoot this bad boy. We are going to get this done. Mix a little paint. I've actually pre-mixed this 50-50 with Mr. Color Leveling Thinner. So, and I won't need a ton. So I'm just going to, let's see, test my spray out here, make sure it's, I'm just going to try to minimize any overspray. Just go slow. Use a little air to dry it off. I'm not pulling the trigger back, so no paint's coming off, coming out. So let this dry. Color's on. Still debating whether to mask these areas down here and shoot those or brush them. So I will go ahead and let this dry, clean up my airbrush, and I will see you back at the bench. All right. Now the fun part. Hopefully we don't peel any paint up. We didn't last time when we shot the black. So hopefully we're gonna go for more of that success. A little bit at a time. Not bad so far. Not too much cleanup at all. A little bit right here. Right in there that I'll have to brush paint. But overall, not bad. So I am going to try to brush paint these and see what result I get. And then just go down in here, take some of my gray paint and touch down in there because I got a little overspray, which I figured I was going to because the tape just wasn't sitting right. But that'll bug me if I don't. So I'm going to grab this right here, my flat aluminum. All right, we got everything painted, everything touched up. Probably gonna do a little black wash on it once it's all gone or all done. We have to glue the shocks into their place, and we have the transmission painted. That lovely, lovely, lovely flat aluminum. So that gets glued. Little glue there. Little glue there. And then it sits right on that right on that pin. And then slides down on two little pins back here. Keep it straight. Not too bad, not too shabby. So what I've got to now see is if we glue these down, which I'm kind of wanting to glue these down and then paint the black areas. Those will go just like that. But I'm wondering how hard it's going to be to paint those black. So I think what we're going to do is we are going to paint those black now before we put them on. That'll save us from having to paint later. Maybe. I may just have to hold these, which ought to be fun. I guess what I could do, yeah, why don't we do that? We'll take a little semi-gloss black and we'll paint the parts that we can hold. Then we'll glue down and paint the top parts. All right, let those dry, then we'll glue them in, and then we'll come back and finish the painting on them. All right, I believe I can glue these in now. So each one goes here. I'm going to put some glue right in there. I'm going to take it, and it fits perfectly right in there. Then I'm going to take the other one, this side. And we're going to fit it right in there. Then all we got to do is touch up the black areas. All right, those are dry. So what we're going to do is finish painting those shocks. All right, we are, I believe, done with step number 1. Everything's been glued, everything's been painted. We are now, well, I am trying to figure out whether I want to put a wash on it or do I want to keep it fairly clean. Undetermined at this juncture. So I will make that decision, and I'll let you guys know. So that wraps up step number 1 of the Tamiya Nissan Z. Hope you guys have a great night. Thanks for following my builds. Thanks for liking and subscribing. If you have not, go ahead and like and subscribe. And drop me a comment and let me know what you're thinking. Any advice or suggestions. I'm always up for help if you guys see that I need it. See you next time. Thank you.